Hello everyone, welcome to my brand new video. This is Priyanka here. In this video, I am going to explain the chapter in the Kingdoms of Fools written by A.K. Ramanujan for class 9th from Women's book. A detailed paragraph-wise explanation is given here, so let's gear up with the lesson. First, let us know about the author of the story, that is A.K. Ramanujan. Attipate Krishnaswamy Ramanujan, popularly known as A.K. Ramanujan, was an Indian poet and a scholar of Indian literature who wrote both in English and Kannada language. He was also a professor, a philologist, folklorist, translator, and a playwright. He was awarded Sahitya Academy Award in 1999 for his collection of poems, The Collected Poems. Now, introduction of the story. Kannada is a regional language mainly spoken in the state of Karnataka. This story is a Kannada folktale. Folktale is a story which is passed on from one generation to another. This story is taken from the book Folk Tales from India, written by A.K. Ramanujan. Next is about the title of the story. In the Kingdoms of Fools, which means the state where people are not so wise, they are not intelligent. In this story, the king, his ministers, and his advisors are fools. That means they are not wise and intelligent. When this kind of people rule the kingdom, then what all happens has been told in this story. Now let's begin with the explanation of the story. In the Kingdoms of Fools, the king and his minister both were idiots, means fools. The king and his minister did not want to run their kingdom like other kings did. So they decided to do something different. They started treating night as day and day as night. They ordered that the work which was done at night would be done during the daytime, and the work which was done during the daytime will be done during the night time. They passed an order that everyone in the kingdom would work at night. Nobody would sleep at night. The farmers would do farming at night, and the ones who ran businesses would do business at night. As soon as the sun rose, everyone would go to sleep. If someone would disobey the order, he would be punished with death. The people were scared that if they did not obey the king's order, they would be sentenced with death penalty. So they obeyed the order, although it was very strange. The king and his minister, both the fools, were very happy that all the people in the kingdom were following their order. One day, a saint arrived in the kingdom of fools along with one of his disciples. He saw that it was a beautiful city. It was a sunny day but could not find anyone around. They were surprised. Everyone was asleep, and the writer says that not a mouse was stirring. Stirring means moving around. They could not find a single mouse moving around, which means that it was so quiet as everyone, even the tiniest creature, the mice, were asleep. The people had taught their cattle to sleep during daytime, so everyone, human as well as animals, were sleeping. These two strangers to the kingdom of fools were not aware that this kind of order had been passed in the city. So they were surprised to see that everyone was sleeping during daytime. They kept on wandering around in the whole city, and as soon as it was night, everyone woke up and started doing their work. Businessmen were doing businesses and farmers were farming. The Guru and his disciple were very hungry. When the shops opened at night, they went to buy groceries. They were surprised to see that whatever they bought from the shop costed 1 dudu. The things were very cheap out there. Whether you buy a big bunch of bananas or you buy a big bag of rice, it costed only 1 dudu. Everything was at same price in the kingdom of fools. The Guru and his disciple were very happy because the food in this kingdom was very cheap. You could buy a lot of food just for a rupee. When the Guru and his disciple cooked and ate their food, the Guru realized that the kingdom was a kingdom of fools and decided not to stay there any longer because it was unsafe for them. Guru tried to make his disciple understand and told him that everyone out there was a fool and are very dangerous. The kingdom would not last for a long time and they could harm them too. This disciple is not foresighted like his Guru and could not understand what his Guru was trying to say. He wanted to live there only and enjoy the cheap food. Finally, the Guru left alone, leaving the disciple behind. The disciple stayed back in the kingdom of fools. Every day he ate a lot of food, due to which he becomes as fat as a huge bull. One day, a thief entered a merchant's house. He made a hole in the wall to gain access. When he was about to move out of the house, after looting all the things, the wall broke and fell down on his head and he died there only. The thief's younger brother went to the king and complained that his brother was following his ancient trade, although the ancient trade robbing is a crime. While he was walking, the wall fell on his head and he died. The thief's brother was taking advantage of the king's foolishness. He said that the merchant whose wall has fallen down on his brother was the culprit. He should have made a strong wall. He requested the king to punish the merchant and get compensation for his family. The king was so foolish that he did not consider the fact that the dead man was committing theft at the time of his death. He only thought that the man died because the wall fell on him and the owner of the house whose wall fell on him had to be punished. So he called the merchant. As soon as the merchant appeared, the king asked his name. Then the king asked him whether he was at home when the dead man, the thief, was burgling his house. The merchant replied that he was at home only. The thief made a hole in the wall and entered his house, and when he was trying to go out, the wall fell down on him because it was weak. Then the king told the merchant that he was guilty. He did wrong. Due to his weak wall, the thief died and now he would be punished. The merchant pleaded in front of the king, requested that, "My lord, it was not my fault. The wall was weak because the person who made the wall did not construct it properly. Hence, you should punish him." And further, he added that The wall was made during his father's time. The person who built it was very old. He knew him as he lived nearby. So the king sends his soldier to call the bricklayer who built the wall. They tied his hands and feet and brought him in the king's palace. Then king asked him that did he build the wall, and he replied that yes, he did. The king said that the man had built a weak wall. The wall fell on the poor thief's head and killed him. The bricklayer would be punished for this with death. Everyone is passing on the blame to another person. When the king was about to pass an order to execute the bricklayer, he requested the king to listen to him. He agreed that he did not make the wall properly. It was because of a girl who was roaming around in the street and her anklets were making a jingling sound. Due to her anklet jingle sound, he was not able to concentrate on his work and so built a weak wall. It was not his mistake. It was the fault of the girl. He added that he knew where this dancing girl lived. She should be punished instead of him. The king was satisfied with the bricklayer's explanation. He was convinced with him. He tells that this case is very complicated and will not be able to solve it so easily. He ordered his messenger to get the dancer girl. The dancing girl had become an old woman and she was trembling as she entered the court. The king asked her that many years ago was she dancing and roaming around in the lane when the bricklayer was constructing the wall. Her movement distracted him. She confirmed him. He told her that as she was roaming around with anklets jingling, it distracted the bricklayer. Due to this, he could not do his work properly. He built a bad wall which fell on the thief and he was killed. It was because of her that the thief died and she would be punished with death. The dancing girl transferred the blame onto another person. She said that she was roaming around in this lane again and again because she had to visit the goldsmith shop. She had given some gold to him to make jewelry out of it. He was a dishonest person. He was making excuses for not making her ornaments in time. He kept on asking her to come after some time. Due to this, she had to go to his house at least a dozen times. So the dancing girl said that it was the fault of the goldsmith. Further, this dancing girl says that when the bricklayer saw her and got distracted, it was the fault of the goldsmith because of whom she was roaming in the lane again and again. Now the king says that the poor dancing girl was totally right. He thought a lot and finally said that now they knew who the real culprit was. He ordered to bring the goldsmith. The bailiffs, means the law officers, in the king's court went in search of the goldsmith and brought him to the court. The goldsmith was hiding aside his shop as he was feared being arrested. When he was brought in front of the king, he told his side of the story. He said that the dancing girl was right. He made many excuses and made her visit his shop again and again. But it was not his fault. He had an order from a rich merchant and they had a wedding at their place and were in a hurry to get their order, and that is why the dancing girl's work was getting delayed. Then the king asked the goldsmith to name the rich merchant. The goldsmith said that the merchant was the same merchant whose house wall had fallen down. Justice had come full circle means that the story ended at the same person from whom it had started. The thief died under the wall of the same merchant whose jewelry this goldsmith was making. Once again the merchant was called. He was crying and he knew that the king was foolish and he would give him death sentence. He said that it was not he who had ordered the jewelry, but it was his father. His father was dead and it was none of his fault. The king consulted his minister and gave the decision that the merchant's father was the murderer. The thief died because of him, as the merchant's father was not alive and someone had to be punished for the crime, so he said that the merchant's son, who had inherited everything from his father, would have to take the punishment for his wrongdoing as well. He added that when he had seen the merchant for the first time, at that moment he had a feeling that he was the culprit. The king announced that now the merchant would have to die. When this new weapon was getting ready, the minister felt that the merchant was very thin and he could not be executed in this way. He told this to the king and the king got worried. The king got an idea that they should catch hold of a man who was fat enough to be executed with the stake. The merchant would not be put to death because he was too thin to be executed with a stake. They thought of punishing another person instead of the merchant, one who was fat enough to be executed with a stake. Finally, the king sent his servants around the kingdom to look for a man who was fat enough to be executed with the stake. They found the guru's disciple, who had become very fat because of overeating. The disciple said that he was a sannyasi. He had not done anything wrong. He was innocent. Then why were they taking him? The king's servants said that he was innocent, but they were ordered to catch hold of a fat man who would be executed with the stake, and he was fit for it, and that is why they were taking him along. The disciple is reminded of his guru. Guruji, who was a wise man, had told him that it was a city of fools and they could harm him. Now they were taking him along to execute him. The helpless disciple prayed to his guru and asked him to come to his rescue. The guru could visualize the disciple's message due to his magical power. He could see everything. He could see the future, the present and the past. He could see everything in the vision. The guru arrived there to save his disciple. The disciple was trapped in a difficult and serious situation. They were about to execute him, although he had not done anything wrong. So the guru came across to rescue him from this situation. As the Guru met his disciple, he scolded him because he did not obey him and stayed back. He whispered something in his ears. The Guru tried to trap the king in his words. He asked him who was greater between a Guru and his disciple. The king replied, "Of course the Guru was greater." The Guru said that for this reason the king must execute him before executing his disciple. When the disciple heard his Guru's words, he started shouting that he wanted to die first. When the Guru and his disciple started arguing that who would die first, the king got confused. He asked the Guru that why did he want to die. They had caught the disciple because he was fat, and they wanted a fat man who could be executed with the stake. The Guru refused to reply. He said that he wanted to die before his disciple died. The king felt that there was some mystery behind it. The Guru wanted to die before his disciple and was so eager to die. There must be some reason behind it. The Guru asked the king to promise him that he will execute him first if he told him the secret about why he wanted to be executed first. The king promised that he would execute him first. Then the Guru took the king aside and slowly told him that they had roamed around the whole world but had not seen a city and a king like him. He added that the stake which they would use to kill the disciple was the stake of justice. As it was new, it had not killed any criminal. Further, he said that the one who would die first on this stake would be reborn as the king of the kingdom. By telling all this, he is trying to trap the king. The one who would die next would be reborn as the minister of the kingdom. The Guru added that he was tired of the life of sannyasi. He and his disciple wanted to live the life of a king and a minister. So he says that the king execute him first so that he is reborn as a king, and after him his disciple be executed so he is reborn as a minister. After listening to the Guru, the king was in deep thought. He did not want that in the next life his kingdom be snatched away from him. He discussed this with his minister. The king told his minister that he did not want that in the next life his kingdom be taken away. He added that the person was a holy man, and holy man did not speak lies. He says that they should die first so that they are reborn as a king and minister of the kingdom. The king told his executioners that he would send the criminals at night. Firstly, they should execute the person who came first and then execute the second person. They should be careful and not make any mistake. At night, the king and his minister went to the prison where the Guru and his disciple were kept. They wore the clothes of the Guru and his disciple so that they resembled them. As it was told to the servants, they came and took them along and put them into the stake for execution. In this way, with his intelligence, the Guru was able to execute his foolish king and his foolish minister. When the dead bodies of the king and his minister were taken away to be thrown, the people trembled to see the dead bodies of their king and his minister. Everyone was trembling because the dead bodies were not of Guru and his disciple. Instead, they were the bodies of the king and his minister. Everyone in the kingdom was mourning the death of their king and his minister. In the morning, some people thought of the Guru and his disciple and felt that they should go to them. As the Guru and his disciple were planning to leave the kingdom, the people stopped them. The people of the kingdom thought that they needed a king and a minister, and so they requested the Guru and his disciple to be the new king and minister of the kingdom. The disciple agreed quickly, but it took some time to make the Guru agree upon this. Later, the Guru agreed to be the king of the kingdom, but on the condition that from then everyone would work in the day and sleep at night. Also, the cost of things would vary and not be one to do for anything as was the system earlier. It would be like any other place where everything has different rates. Finally, the Guru converted the kingdom of fools into a normal kingdom. They lived happily after. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked my video, please don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video with your friends. Take care. Bye-bye. See ya.